Okay, I just want to say that I'm back. I'm sorry I was gone for a little while. I basically, you know, I don't know, a lot of complicated things. I don't want to encourage to come back, but I'm starting to realize that we need sort of that alternative media presence, that voice of reason. We need to be able to speak to each other, and we really need to just pump content out as much as possible. If the more content we're pumping out, the harder it is for them to keep up with us, to spin, to disinform, and at the same time to be able to sort of override the narrative that we could provide. So I would like to encourage all of you to do what you can to provide your own analysis as to what is going on. I'm starting to play with the idea. Okay, first things first, like there's all of this crap going on in Texas and Colorado. I haven't looked into it, but Alex Jones references that now it's coming out in Texas and Colorado that these DAs and these other people that are part of that. Okay, basically, this guy, um, Evan Ebel. Evan Ebel is this man who shot Tom Clements, right? So Tom Clements was the head of corrections for Colorado. This guy gets shot the day before Hickenlooper is set to sign the gun control measure, or I think it limits magazines or something like that, in Colorado. So Governor Hickenlooper of Colorado the next day signs the is set to sign the gun control legislation, and the head of corrections gets murdered by a man named Evan Ebel. Well, the thing is that I don't know if that was just coincidental and fortunate enough for us, because that's highly suspicious, the timing involved. I think it was just coincidental. But the simple fact of the matter is that Evan Ebel was likely an informant, right? He actually had basically these COINTELPRO agents, these people that work for the FBI, are compromised. Almost everybody is compromised essentially in the cabal, to some extent. But like you're trapped. They can't get out. They have to essentially work things off. I've personally even caught one essentially. The thing is that this guy supposedly removes his ankle bracelet. They got like ankle bracelets so they can't get out of their house or something, or maybe he can't get out of the prison. But either way, he's on parole, probation, whatever that is, where he's basically in this house arrest situation. He removes it somehow, very suspicious. He books it, and now that we're not sure whether or not that's like they're just saying, oh, he removed his ankle bracelet. Well, it could be the case that he never had one and he was actually just muscle. Muscle, that's gangster term for like that. He was just a go-to guy who was capable of doing bad things to good people in order to get good people to comply. Well, the thing is that basically, like, he could have been muscle and was used to compromise entire, families basically that might have known things about the other fishy thing that happened in Colorado, being the James Holmes incident, which we know has massive blowback going on. Like, I just want to pause right now to help you understand that. Basically, like, it's very clear now, like, how out of control things are. So out of control that the only way it's being held together is you just do not have any reputable mainstream media news sources saying that they're happening. Like, they rather run stories about BS stories about, you know, murders, like these murders, like high profile murders that could be made up altogether on their own. Anyway, basically, all we know is that a pizza guy gets shot, right? So this pizza dude gets shot. The clothes get taken off the pizza guy. The sign, I think the sign got taken off the car. Don't quote me. Anyway, there's shell casings there where the pizza guy was shot up, and the pizza gets taken. Now, this and it was basically Evan Ebel. They find this out later, but basically this suggests to me that if he did somehow remove his ankle bracelet, then he was a fugitive and needed food, and that would prompt him to kill the pizza guy. The other option is that this guy Evan Ebel is such a nutcase. You know, I mean, he has like a very violent history. He committed a lot of theft. Um, and the thing is that he was constantly getting away with things, and that's typically the case with informants. Like, if there's somebody, like, I think the other, like back before, like just before Sandy Hook happened, I'm kind of rambling. It was, but I gotta go through all this. Just before Sandy Hook happened, there was basically somebody who was shot in the head, and this guy was from California, but he happened to be in New York that day. He was shot in the head, and that ultimately this dude like was a law student, and yet he had an extensive criminal history. This is an informant, right? This is somebody. This is an FBI asset who constantly gets away with crimes and does so because they've got RICO charges. They've got some sort of reason for federal agents to sit there and be buddy buddy with a criminal. The FBI is so messed up. Like they're just basically like, you know, the FBI didn't get rid of organized crime. They just muscled out the competition. They are basically organized crime that runs the country. So what am I talking about here? So you know, and then every once in a while you have like some legit people, but it's very, very much running out. In fact, the one person that I know that was going to become an FBI agent who I knew was a good man just randomly ended up getting shot. And I still find that fishy, right? So right before the guy goes to become an FBI agent, this local man that I know, there's a shootout in a place that there's never shootouts, you know, in my peaceful hometown, and he gets shot in the head. You know, very strange. It's like they're basically keeping anyone from being like, you know, good people out of the FBI, basically. Okay, you know, obviously there's conspiracy all over the place. Where am I? Let's go back to Evan Noble here. Hickenlooper, like after Tom Clements was shot, okay, he kills the pizza guy. Then, like a couple days later, he kills Tom Clements, the head of corrections. Many theories abound here. Did he take off the ankle bracelet, go on a, you know, try to escape, kill a pizza guy in order to eat something, and then he gets captured as a result? Tom Clements shoves a broomstick up his ass, or Tom's, you know, because these are cabal members. You're gonna basically be talking to, you know, people in the know, people at the top of the compartmentalized power structure. You're gonna, you know, did Tom Clements do something to piss Evan Ebel off to such an extent that Evan Ebel decided that he wanted to take vengeance on Tom Clements? So anyway, a jogger that night that Tom Clements was shot saw this car idling so down the road. So that suggests that Evan Ebel like had set his car to idle. I mean, set his car just idling as he went up to the door, knocked on the door. Clements comes to the door. He shoots Clements through the door, shoots at the door, or maybe Clements opens the door, whatever. Shoots the guy. Clements is now dead. I don't think Clements is a legit person. I'm pretty sure Clements is not a legit person. I mean, he's obviously in the cover up. And the thing is that, you know, like, Ebel books it, gets in the car, and he's driving. And where's he going to go? Well, he decides he's going to head in through Texas, probably on his way to the Mexican border where he's going to escape. I don't think he has the help of the cabal. Okay? I don't know whether or not, you know, I think the only way that you could say that he would know how to stay low is that he knows not to have maybe a cell phone, he knows not to have any sort of tracking devices on it. Anyway, the jogger's like, yeah, there was a blocky black car, and you know, and the thing is that so Clements is dead, but the thing is that Hickenlooper mentions Evan Ebel while lamenting about Tom Clements. Maybe because Evan Ebel's on his mind. Anyway, what it's suggesting is that Hickenlooper kind of knew what happened here, right? So Hickenlooper kind of is like, so yeah, Tom Clements was, you know, working on revising ADSEC, which is basically like, solitary confinement. I bet Evan Ebel must have been stuck in solitary confinement for a long time, and it was basically like effed up how long he was in solitary confinement. I don't know, but basically he mentions how he has a friend who has a son who went down a wrong path, and it turns out that who he's mentioning before he even knew that it was Evan Ebel, because Evan Ebel gets caught later. Before he even knew, he mentions Evan Ebel. Hickenlooper gets confronted about this after Evan Ebel gets caught. Hickenlooper gets confronted about this by a reporter there in Denver named Jeremy Hohola and some other guy that was working with Hohola. I can't remember his name. And basically, the reporter, not Hohola, but the reporter there in front of the camera, was saying, you mentioned somebody, or, somebody who, a friend you had who had a son that went astray. Who was that? And then Hickenlooper just immediately, just without batting an eyelid, answers, oh, it's so and so, this guy. And it turns out that he just outed the fact that he was mentioning Evan Ebel directly and indirectly through the father. And, like at that moment, Hickenlooper, if he wasn't lying, if he wasn't hiding something, should have been like, yeah, isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that I mentioned the shooter of Tom Clements the day after Tom Clements was shot? No, instead he's just like, oh, I mentioned so-and-so. And then the guy has to add it up for him in front of the camera and says, did you know at the time that this was the father of the man that shot Tom Clements? He's like, oh, no, we're all very torn apart. It's very sad, I mean, it's just the script is so bad. I mean, it's just, I don't know what they're thinking. They need to tip out. Okay, that's what scares me, right? I mean, they're kind of like totally stupid. I mean, I think we need to like make a forgiveness movement or something, because I don't know what kind of guns they've got, but we need to like do something, because I don't know how it's holding together. I mean, if it weren't for the mainstream media, not, how do I say this? If it were not for the mainstream media not just telling you there's no cliff there, you know, you would stop walking. You would stop. Something would happen. You would obviously make a change. It's the mainstream media that is screwing everybody up. Everybody's so dumbed down. Okay, so what am I trying to say here? Anyway, Evan Ebel gets caught basically because he's booking it through Texas, and he's like hightailing it, and he gets basically like he goes by a cop in some small town, small county in Texas, 100 miles an hour, like an idiot. He goes by the guy 100 miles an hour. The cop pulls him over. He shoots the cop up, like an idiot. Like, this is an example of how they create these monsters. Shoots the cop up, starts running off. Other cops, basically catch up to this guy, kill him. There you go. There's your blocky black vehicle with a pizza box, the pizza uniform. Get this, there's an extra license plate in there. There's like the same shell casings. It becomes very apparent that this guy is in fact the killer of Tom Clements and the pizza guy and the cop in Texas. Okay, now obviously the small town is PO'd, and luckily Jeremy Hohola manages to make the connection to Hickenlooper. And luckily, and get this is actually lucky. There's this mysterious killing of a DA that occurred 2 counties over about a month ago, right? There in that area in Texas that this shootout occurred. It's fortunate because the new DA that gets put in, who later gets killed, I get that. This new DA that gets put in is like, I'm going to find out who shot this old DA. They didn't know who it was. They just had different speculations: Mexican drug cartels, white supremacists. They were even saying that the killing of Tom Clements had to do with like a this total CIA asset. Basically, this guy who was distributing tapes done by one of the first Americans ever drone striked, Anwar al-Awlaki or whatever. Anyway, it was just ridiculous. Hey, it's Muslims, white supremacists. It's Muslims, white supremacists, Mexican drug cartels. No, guys, it's the federal government, or it's some sort of rogue shadow government operating in our government. So anyway, Luckily, Hula Hola makes the connection. This new DA, who's already dead set on trying to figure out what the hell happened to the other DA, like I don't know whatever happened to the other DA. He ends up wanting to pursue this, like, because they said the FBI from the Colorado was heading down to Texas, and these local authorities, I mean, the sheriff has the say so in the investigation. It's probably thinking like, you guys need to back the heck up. There's something up with your federal powers over there in Colorado and the connections and the cover-ups. Anyway, DAs start dropping like flies in Colorado, in Texas. The sheriffs in Colorado are even getting pissed off that there's Hickenlooper and Obama are just completely ignoring and pushing through gun legislation on them. To the extent that Hickenlooper is seeking federal powers to not just protect himself but arrest those sheriffs who are not willing to comply with the gun regulation laws that he's attempting to slam through. Crazy, man. It's crazy. It's blowing up like crazy. So this North Korea thing, to me, is just like distraction. It's like, hey, you're about to get nuked. You're about to get nuked. Maybe even a threat over the American people, over not the American people, a threat over the American intelligence agencies, like saying, hey, cover this shit up. Cover it up or we're going to nuke. The powers that be are saying, we're going to nuke you. We're going to blame it on North Korea. Why won't they say Iran, though? Very interesting, right? If they're not going to say Iran, because I don't know, I just speculate that there's been a shift of hands, basically, where they're starting to move towards this, like, we've still got to maintain power, but hey, we're going to go away from this whole, like, pro-Zionist thing. I don't know. Israel seems to be taking heat recently with Iran and Palestine actually getting like the sympathy and stuff. That's great. It's like it shows that we're making progress because they love their little pet project Israel. I don't know. There could be something still in the plans there. I'm still thinking that there's some sort of controlled uprising coming along. Anyway, they do the North Korea thing. Now all of a sudden we're dropping missile defenses apparently in exchange for China telling North Korea to stop. Well, that's obviously weird, right? Why would we do that? I don't know, but China locks its grid down, no communication in or out, and at the same time, like, they've got an overpopulation of males due to the one child policy. You can't make any video games or movies about China occupying the U.S. The U.S. owes tons of money to them. We're constantly, I think we like owed them. We try to pay them back in gold, and they found tungsten with gold, gold-plated tungsten in the gold that we shipped over because there's no gold in the Fort Knox after the gold confiscation of the United States. Anyway, look, what I'm trying to say here is that shit started blowing up in Texas and Colorado, and when I saw the North Korea thing coming, I was like, oh shit, like now I'm wanting them to cover it up. Now I'm like, okay, all right, just cover it up. Don't let the nuke go off, okay? Anyway, it looks like it's kind of like plateauing right now. But what I want to say to my subscribers is, okay, hopefully I don't get killed. I'm back, and what I want is for everyone to be active and doing the videos and stuff, because the more we cloud ourselves out there, the better off we're going to be. Anyway, did you see this new NSA facility that's being built in Utah? It says it has, like, if you were to take your iPhones, 16 gigabytes each, stack them on top of each other, it would go from the surface of the Earth to the moon, basically. That's how many gigabytes that they're going to be able to store there. And what are they doing? Anything. Like, even when your phone is not active, maybe even when you think it's off, and you're talking, okay, there's actually evidence of this. My friend who worked at this phone repair shop, Retech, said that there's evidence of this, that your phone is basically transmitting information, audio signals from your phone, constant surveillance, to the cell phone radio towers, at which point it's being basically stored by the federal government. And what do you think they're going to do? Okay, they, like the guy said on the thing with the CNN or Fox, I think it was Fox, the NSA whistleblower. He said, we're building something that you give it the wrong hands, even though it's totally in the wrong hands. That's why it's even at that point. They flip the switch, and then it's total tyranny. Okay, I mean, you have a daughter, and the daughter, like, has a boyfriend, and then she, like, happens to text another guy, and then the federal government comes up to your daughter and says, "Hey, I've got this knockdown proof that you were, trying to cheat on your boyfriend. Now you're going to, you know, now you're going to pose nude for me. You're going to do something with me." You know what I mean? Blackmail. Okay, people don't get this. Compromised, blackmail. Those are bombshell terms. Compromise, blackmail, shill, counterintelligence. Okay, this is puppet mastering. That's what's going on. That's not mind control. I mean, you can talk about mass mind control. You can talk about personal mind control. Start talking about blackmail. Start talking about compromising activities. Anyway, because that's what's going on. Where am I? Okay, yeah. Anyway, get this. So that DA that tries to basically investigate, probably trying to counter conspire, what I call counter conspire, the Colorado investigation unit coming down. Probably Texas would be in there. Texas FBI would be more than willing to. But anyway, the sheriffs and the DAs dropping like flies. That specific DA shot up in his house. He's shot up multiple times. The wife is shot once. What does that imply? They may have tried to perform like a murder suicide. The stuff went haywire, and he basically got shot a million times or whatever. But what it implies is that they were attempting to negotiate with him. Wife is shot. He runs to fight back. I think he was shot in the hallway. Probably went to go get a gun or something. I don't know. And he gets shot up. The people run away. And it turns out that it's just cabal members shooting legit investigators. So game plan here. Start talking to each other. Start sharing stuff on Facebook. Start getting some production quality out there. Basically, you want to not knock over the conspiracy. That's dangerous. You want to just continually raise the general awareness level slow, because all it really boils down to are powerful people trying to keep from going to prison and being in power. And if things are going slow enough, then they can just piggyback whatever they want to do. Right now they're setting up Rand Paul. I mean, they were compromised. Rand and Ron were compromised, okay? But they're like, hey, you're the face of the new thing. And they might even think inside themselves, hey, I'm a member of the Illuminati, even though I fucked up the entire system until now. Hey, we taught you what liberty was. So, what we're going to do now is we're just going to start piggybacking the libertarian stuff. I don't know. It's crazy. And, the best way to put it is Steve Pachinik's interview with Alex Jones recently, where it turns out that they're so disconnected that they're bumbling around like idiots that, the think tanks. I mean, I was taking on entire think tanks and winning. I hate to say that bragging, but I mean, there's no way. I mean, just, listen to the radio show I did, I mean, they were trying the best that they could to cover up the situation in Colorado, and I was just pulling inconsistencies out like they were fries in a basket. And the thing is that I'll let this go on record, and I've always thought this, but that when the cover up what I call the Bonnie Kate operation came out a month later, Tony Scott, the director, or maybe it was Tony Scott, he jumped off a bridge, and I don't think so. I think that they hired him to do all these peachy, cheeky interviews in order to, piggyback cover up material. They were trying to say, oh, they were bleeding in the far corner. That's where they were putting people. That's why there's blood. That's why there's a gas mask there, because there was no gas mask there. You just had to go through the videos. Basically, they failed at that, and as punishment, they killed Tony Scott, or maybe Tony Scott wanted to get out of the grid or something.